It was a spring evening in 2014. My brother-in-law had called and he was on speakerphone. And he asked, "Is everyone sitting down?" And something just didn't sound right. There was an edge of overwhelming anxiety in his voice. And I suggested to my wife, Helen, that she turn off the speakerphone. And then we proceeded to hear the worst news of our lives. Helen's cousin Kim and her 3 young children had been shot and killed on their family farm. And a couple of days later, Jeff, Kim's husband, was found in the family dam, dead by his own hand. The news was completely shocking. I remember a wave of cold descending from my head all the way down to my toes. And Helen was completely stunned. The story that I want to tell tonight, though, starts a lot earlier than that horrific event. I first met Kim in the late 1990s in her newly renovated home in Wagga Wagga. And Helen had warned me, you'll find out very quickly whether Kim likes you or not. For Kim, there was very little that was grey. Everything was pretty clear, black or white, and thankfully, Kim and I got on very well. My early memories of Kim focus on how full and busy her life was. I remember that she used to drive around in a fully laden white Mitsubishi Lancer wagon, and the odometer read over 300,000 kilometres. And every time you'd go and visit, it was a whirlwind. The sheer amount of activity, cooking and cleaning was overwhelming. But what I really remember was really gracious hospitality and generosity, delicious meals, and on very special occasions, a spectacular breakfast of thick blackberry jam with double cream on soft white bread. Kim held a fancy dress party for her 30th. She came as Tinkerbell. And at about midnight, she climbed onto the roof and leapt off. And moments later, she was caught by her exuberant friends. I can remember thinking that she was absolutely crazy, but also marvelling at the sense of freedom that she must have felt. And in my mind's eye, I can remember her in sort of descending in mid-flight, in falling slower than I'd expect, and coming into land softly like a butterfly. In 2012, Kim was involved in a major car accident and suffered a severe brain injury. She was airlifted to Calgary Hospital in Canberra and then further airlifted into Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney. And the next month is a horrific blur. I remember going to meetings with neurosurgeons and intensivists with Kim's husband, Jeff, and walking out of those meetings in complete despair. We were told, we're not sure that Kim will survive. She is the sickest person in the intensive care unit, and we're not sure that she'll ever regain consciousness. But Kim's tenacity saw her through all of these challenges, and she eventually went back to work as a nurse in emergency and regained her driver's license. I'm going to take you back to 2014. After the initial news of the murders, Helen drove down south to be with the broader family, and I remained in Sydney with our 2 young children. For the next 48 hours, I was glued to the news, wondering what had happened to Jeff, suspecting the worst, but hoping for anything else. And when he was finally found, I felt like a small, improbable seed of hope was completely crushed. My wife and I had long ago agreed that we would always be open and transparent with our children. So I sat them down, remembering that they were 9 and 7 at the time, to tell them what had happened. And Helen was not in the house. She was down south and on speakerphone. And I remember being really concerned that my kids would be very scared of me and that I might be able to act like Jeff had acted. A public funeral was held soon after. I gave Kim's eulogy with 2,000 locals in attendance. The event was surreal. It was packed with indescribable sorrow and confusion as to why things had turned out the way that they had. The murder-suicide completely changed our world. We wondered whether we'd ever really known anybody. We wondered if we'd ever trust again. And it marked a real significant change in my professional life when I started to question what was really important and started to focus much more on purpose-driven activity. In 2016, I began fundraising for women's community shelters. I felt a real connection to causes that work with the most vulnerable members of our community. Through tragedy, I strengthened my connection with social purpose. And my work in this space is the most important work that I do. I've been on the boards of 4 not-for-profit organisations, and I feel really privileged to be able to contribute. I wish that Jeff had felt that it was okay to let us know that things weren't great. I wish that he'd been able to ask for help. And I wish that we'd been able to support him more. And maybe there would have been significantly different outcomes. I wish that he had understood that vulnerability is not a weakness. It is what makes us human and connects us. We think about Kim and the children every day. And we wish that they were here with us. We won't ever get over this tragedy. But I feel Kim's presence when I spend time, energy, and passion in having an impact on the lives of vulnerable people.